and welcome to another episode of Giving a Hoot with Kyle and Ryan.
Not Luke.
Hello.
Not so normal crowd here with Ryan and I, but we are bringing on data diver extraordinaire Kyle Reisman. So welcome, Kyle.
Thanks. Nice to have some live data checking, I guess.
So if you have anything to contribute data wise, better be right, because we can't go back and change those data facts after.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get into some news. We have a little bit of that. As far as team of the week,
3, baby.
3 on team of the week.
Hey, technically we could say 4 if you want to count
4.
Jake. No, I'm counting Jake first.
Well, 5 if you want to go that way,
There we go. See?
because both Toby and Jake also got team of the week.
Oh, there we go. Even better.
Technically 6, because we have a mascot on team of the week.
We should mention the reason Camille's not joining the 3 of us is because they're visiting the mascot at the Humane Society currently. So
That is correct. But definitely there to say we got Rashid, who had an outstanding week. Tough week, but an outstanding week. The mascot, Knutson for team of the week. Little bit of foreshadowing there, because then Dalton makes his first appearance on team of the week of 2020.
Are we sure?
Are
we sure? Because they did not spell his first name correctly.
Oh, they didn't? I didn't even see that.
They went O-N on it.
Wait, what did they get? They spelled it correctly later on, where they talk about Newton for team of the week, the dog.
Oh man.
And, as people that help check articles, as Kyle knows, it's not the best job always. So sometimes you're in a rush, and things like the spelling of a person's first name may get missed.
Yeah. No, definitely a little bit of forgiveness warranted here.
Absolutely.
But we also have Dion on team of the week.
As a defender.
As a
defender.
I think we all have noticed after that Richmond game, we kind of need some help in the defense, and Dion stepped up in a big way there. So extremely happy to have Dion able to be able to fill in on our defense. As far as the fact it took him being a defender to make team of the week, a little bit disappointing there. But this, with two people listed on defense on team of the week and our goalkeeper, I think it was finally a good show as to why Union Omaha has been so strong this year.
Yeah.
And currently sitting top of the table.
Yeah.
At least until Wednesday.
At least Wednesday. But I'm going to take that top of the table all the way to Wednesday.
I know we're talking about 3 games because we didn't record before Saturday, but the nice part for Shido was the week only included Wednesday and Saturday. So if you look at those 2 games, he only gave up the one goal in 2 games. So Richmond did not affect his ability to be on team of the week this week. And I love these stats from Dion. Besides his goal, which we'll talk about, he had 7 recoveries, perfect dribble completion, and tackle success rate. Both are perfect. I mean, for a guy that rarely plays defense, that is amazing for stats for him.
And one half of the game playing defense on an iffy part of the field.
Yes.
Well, we'll get into the field because I think that definitely needs to be talked about here. Other news: Alex Touche injured during the Richmond game. We'll get a little bit into that, but was seen walking around unaided on Wednesday, and I believe Kyle spotted him jogging, or as some people say, yogging, on Saturday.
Just a little bit to go and celebrate after that victory.
Well, considering we didn't think he'd be walking after that, huge step in the right direction.
Absolutely.
So, come back better, come back stronger. Just get back. Hurry up. Just come on, Alex.
So glad it wasn't what we all originally feared it to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the absolute last thing we needed, was another, after losing Isaac the week before, the season ending, having Giovanni Montesielka out, season ending injury just as he was starting to catch his stride beginning of the season. Like we can't take another player out.
Especially not back there. I mean, I feel for Gio. I really hope Gio comes back stronger too, but we at least had midfield coverage. We have wing coverage. We have that. Losing two defenders, if we would have lost Alex for the rest of the season too, and to lose two defenders essentially for the rest of the season like that would have been heartbreaking at that point. So I'm glad to hear it sounds like he was. I wasn't at the two home matches, so it sounds like he was at least able to be moving around a little bit, which I'm glad to hear, because initially it looked ugly and nasty.
Yeah, I definitely was not expecting anything positive with that, and seeing him out there walking around is just absolutely massive there. Well, let's break into the Richmond game while I work on getting my video to actually go. So, not a great game. Honestly, I thought we were doing better than the scoreline showed up until Alex's injury. And granted, we were down 1-0 at Alex's injury, but that definitely changed the pace of the game.
Absolutely.
Emilio Anatarzaghi got his first goal against Union Omaha in 3 seasons, followed it up with a second.
Yeah. Bastard.
The first goal was one we couldn't have stopped. It was a very, very skillful goal. Was that Bolaños?
Yeah.
Just right positioning, pace was there. Our guys, I mean, didn't even really get particularly burned there, but the way recovering from that was a little bit challenging.
And it was definitely against the run of play too. Like, I just pulled up the XG graph from that game, and the first 15 minutes were pretty much all us. And then right around 20, I think, is when they got that goal, and then it was pretty much them a lot of the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Therein lies the problem in that match, though. You lose 3-0, but you had 55% possession, thereabouts, and you had more completed passes than the other team, both of which are things that we typically don't do.
Yeah. I think we'd only won the one game doing that, which was that NCFC game.
So I mean, I think that's we joke about it a lot, and I know we'll talk about the next two matches. But I said on Discord, the other two matches being wins didn't surprise me because it played into our strengths, which is not possessing the ball and attacking on the counter, and possessing the ball for the majority of the match. I mean, I know it's 10% more, but that's not. We're usually in the high 30s, low 40s for possession as a team. So we were playing out of our comfort level on the road on top of that. And Richmond plays a similar style like that where they don't want the ball either, and they want those fast counters. That's how Terzaghi scores the goals he scores. They counter, he's up there, he's in position, he shoots and he scores. And unfortunately we played into that tactic this time.
Well, yeah, if you look at the amount of passes that teams in the whole league have had, the bottom three, the least completed passes in the whole league, us, Richmond, Greenville, the current top three.
Who all play similar styles.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Greenville doesn't like having the ball that much either. They'd rather play hard-nosed defense and hit on the counter. So it doesn't surprise me.
No, it really does boil down to in this league, who's got the best defense, and we've seen that all 4 years of this league. Defenses win this league, and you could say that arguably about any, but I think it's even more apparent in League One than anywhere else because the amount of goals getting scored aren't earth-shattering. Terzaghi's in the lead with 14, and it took one of our defenders crashing into our own post because the offside whistle or offside call hadn't been whistled, so we were playing through the whistle, which there's no VAR. Whistle should be blown immediately, but that's a different story there. If we were going to go into pro rankings this week,
I mean that was the best of the week. Was the Richmond game?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. Terzaghi's on 14, and then Para, Lavitz, and McLaughlin are all on 11, right behind him. So all tied for second.
Yeah, I mean, and Richmond has the most goals at 42 as well, which isn't terribly high for 20-some games played.
Yeah.
Are they? I mean, 42 and 20 games, and they've had a couple 6. This has been a very high-scoring year for the league, but they're because we've had more 2-2 draws, 3-2 wins in this league this year than I think I've seen any of the previous 3 seasons.
Absolutely.
Except for us, but yeah.
But we're also tied for the most clean sheets as a team too. That's the crazy part. What was Shido? Shido has 9, and Christensen with Greenville has 9. That's the other part of this. It's it's kind of boom or bust at this point for us. Where I think Richmond, that's why Richmond stayed up there. Richmond has always kind of just been boom this season. They keep scoring. They're keeping their goals up there. They're still playing fantastic defense.
Because they've allowed second fewest goals behind us. We of course are the fewest allowed. They're second. So,
well, Sawatsky, since he's come to Richmond, has done very well about exploiting the ability of his offensive, and especially Terzaghi. What he's been able to work with Terzaghi and Bolaños. Really, Richmond, I would make the argument, is a 2-player team. You got Terzaghi scoring goals, and you have Akira making all of the saves.
He does.
But their defense isn't strong enough to be in the position they're at, but Akira is a good enough goalkeeper that is, if you look at his save numbers compared to at least last year, it was anybody else in the league, and he had about double as many saves as anybody else.
Currently, according to their site, he has 76 saves on the season. The next closest is Tucson's keeper and Christensen from Greenville tied with 61. So he has 15 more saves than the next closest two guys. For comparison's sake, Rashid has 48 saves this season.
Yeah. Paul the Wall and I don't even remember who Tucson's is because that's
Valdez.
irrelevant. Valdez.
Yeah.
They're sitting firmly in last place, and Greenville's had some issues with defenders, just getting injured and similar situation where they've had to recover. So that like the top three, we're the only one of the top three where our goalkeeper is not first or second highest in saves. I think that's telling enough with how strong our defense is, even our rotated defense.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. With a defense that was short on help anyway, that also has 2 injuries right now.
It's also really unfortunate for kids waiting to get a life-saving eye surgery.
Come on, Cheeto.
I mean, really, no, we should be yelling at Dalton, Dion, to Ryan for that, because they're not letting Shino make enough saves. Got to get more kids seen. All right.
I think Jay will sacrifice those eye surgeries for the defense to keep playing the way they've been playing.
Well, I mean, there's at least 2 refs that could certainly use some of that surgery. But Terzaghi gets a brace. We somehow don't let in 4 or 5 in Richmond, and we recoup, come back and play again Wednesday against Madison, which is traditionally a very tough game. Going into that, we had a losing record against them. One of 3 teams we had a losing record against. If you didn't know that we had a losing record against them, you should be reading the data dump at wghmedia.com, or data dive. Sorry, we switched it this year.
Yeah. And thankfully, we were able to correct some of that, but that Richmond is now the only one left. So we'll see. We get a crack at them next week, but
yeah.
The best part about these next 2 games, we don't need 11 players to beat you. That's the key to these next 2 games.
Well, it would have been really helpful if we'd had 11 players.
It definitely would have helped my stress levels. That's for sure.
Yes. The Madison game was tough. Madison's always a tough side to play against. Defense, they shut down in our field better than we do. They force possession on us, and we're just not able to take full advantage of it. Does us being down a player at home mean that we're automatically going to be less possession, as we kind of hinted at? And then we end up getting to play our style against these teams that are normally parking the bus at Werner Park?
Honestly, the interesting thing, so I watched that one. I watched the last 2 matches from home for a variety of reasons. But the thing that I noticed with Madison with that match was, as soon as Amir got that red card, they got sloppier with the ball. They had way more turnovers after that. And it wasn't like turning the ball over near our 18. They were turning it over in the middle of the park. And our guys, because that's our game, is to capture possession and go down the field fast. Our guys knew exactly what to do as soon as they got it. It didn't matter that we were down a man. As soon as we recovered the ball in the middle of the pitch, they were getting the ball downfield and trying to get shots on goal. And Madison almost didn't know what to do when they got the ball. They got really sloppy with their passes and their possession at that point.
Well, one of the things with Madison is, like us beginning of the season, they don't have a standout goal scorer. Like they rely on that team effort.
Yep.
You never in past. I don't even remember if in 2019 they had someone on Golden Boot race, but I don't recall them ever having somebody who's in contention for Golden Boot, like which you can't blame it on coaching because they've been through enough of those.
Oh, you can blame it on assistant coaching. They only replaced the first team manager, the main manager, not the rest of the guys.
I think they lost a few of their assistant coaches as well. Like they
at least season 1 to 2. I remember us talking about this season. The only person they replaced was the head guy,
Mr. Airplane.
Yes. Now, tell me if this sounds more like Union Omaha. 36% possession, 291 successful passes, or 291 completed passes with a 69% passing accuracy.
Nice.
Down a man and you win 1-0 with those stats. That's Union Omaha soccer right there.
Yeah. I mean, especially like look at how many passes we gave up for Madison. 508. Like that's not too different from what generally happens. We give up a lot of that.
Not only was it 508 completed passes, but that was for 82% successful completions. Like they that's me saying they got sloppy after the red card. They still had 82% successful passes. That's crazy. And Herzog's goal was not a lucky goal. Like that was a well set up situation too.
Well, do we want to talk about that, or do we want to talk about the red card first?
Well, we have to talk about Amir making his mark on a game finally.
Amir was baited into it, but the Bosnian split just shot right back.
If his hand had been about 3 inches lower, he would have gotten a yellow, gotten talking to. He caught the guy square in the jaw, and it wasn't a close fist, but he pushed him straight in the face, and you can't put your hands on guys' heads. That's just the number one thing. You can't do that.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely, in the stadium, watching the replay on the Megatron, it definitely looked soft. But watching it on the ESPN feed, because I guess they use different cameras for that somehow. I mean, there are multiple cameras in Werner Park apparently, and none of them have a great angle. But seeing that on the ESPN Plus feed definitely was to the face. It was provoked. You know, there was shoving going against him. He's trying to clear space. Hands just float up too high. Like I would have made the argument that a yellow card should have been given to Madison, but that hitting the ground as hard and fast as he did for what wasn't much of a push.
It reminded me of Chicharito. Sorry, Kyle. Last night when he was joking around with a Sporting player, and then another guy comes up and touches his arm, and he's like, and like falls to the ground like somebody attacked him.
To be fair, I did see I wasn't watching because I was at the game, but I did see the GIF from Wednesday against Toronto where the three, Michael Bradley and the two others come around.
Yeah, that's what it was, Toronto.
He just like melts down. Yeah.
But he was like joking with Bradley first. But I mean, some of it is like, that's as much as we want that out of soccer, that is the gamesmanship of the sport at times. And I credit to Madison's player. He got touched in the face, and he knew exactly what to do when another player touched him in the face to draw the ref's attention. And that's really the key comes down to Amir's hands going to the face. It doesn't matter how the reaction was. You can't do that to another player at this point.
I feel like it was the AR that must have seen that then, because the ref, I thought, was not looking at it.
Yeah.
Somebody told the ref.
So up until that point, I thought it was obviously a physical game. Madison's always a physical game because it's not a rivalry. there was advantage being played. The run of play felt smoother. It wasn't as choppy. And after that red card, the tone of the reffing changed so much. It was, and I'm not even sure it benefited one side more than the other. The red card obviously did, but uh, it was so much more stop go plays, trying to manage a physicality that had been there the entire game, but just was now more apparent.
But what was interesting is before the red card, he had given one yellow card, which was during stoppage time in the first half. Then the 50th, Amir gets his. He doesn't give any more yellows until the 89th and 90th minute, one to Madison, one to Connor. So for this being a physical match and him, he really let a lot go when he only handed out 4 cards total, one of which being a straight red. Like usually given a straight red, then all of a sudden they get tighter and they give more yellows, and because they're trying to maintain that control that they thought they were losing. It was just interesting the way that he tried to control the match after that. It wasn't using cards; it was just using warnings and talking tos and not giving advantage at that point. It was a straight, nope, this is a foul, free kick.
And typically that's where I'd prefer it to be. If you don't have to give cards, don't give cards. Like that.
Yeah.
That's better for the game, but play the advantage, play the game rather than calling every single foul out there.
I will say this: 16 total fouls called, and 4 of them were cards. So
8 for either side.
Yeah. 8 for either side. So a fourth of the fouls that he called were cards. So maybe I was giving him a little bit more credit than I should have.
Never do that with a ref. Just
I know. Well,
and again, I guess I'll mention it here, especially since it was much worse on Wednesday night. Maybe it was the field, and you're not sure how to call what was going on with that infield.
Oh my God, we got to talk about that at some point.
Before we get into that, let's finish up talking about the game itself, because this may have to be a spin-off episode talking about that pitch. But Corey gets the goal.
Corey Herzog, Luke's new favorite player.
Oh,
do you know who gets the assist?
What was it? Brito on that one, or
Dalton?
DK,
who falls down earlier on the play, is either like kind of pushed down or in a tangle, falls down, gets up, and is able to get the assist.
That was his back heel on that one. We scored multiple goals. As you could tell, we got 2 red cards in the course of a week. My voice is still not back. And not necessarily the prettiest out there, because I mean, when we're down a player, I don't think we always get the prettiest goal, but it gets in late enough that we're able to shut down. Jay's game management was excellent, especially considering we are down defenders. Amir, who's one of our backup defenders, is the player who gets carded. So he's managing with the existing players we have, and we shut down well.
That's an interesting substitution pattern too, right? We bring on Eddie after the red card, but before the goal, he kind of fills in that right back spot. And then after the goal, we bring on Dion, and that's where we first really see him in right back, and Eddie goes up a little bit.
Well, I think you and I were talking about this on Wednesday, because when Dion comes on, it looks like JP comes back as a center defender. And it looked like we had five solid in the back.
Do you guys want breaking news as we're recording?
Let's do it.
Dion's up for goal of the week. So because we're recording this on a Monday and we can actually get it out for voting time, go vote for Dion for goal of the week. Sorry. Anyway.
We'll talk about how good his goal of the week was.
Yeah.
But yeah, no,
Remember.
sliding back into that 5 in the back was definitely we've talked about seeing it earlier in the season, but this was noticeable. It was game management, bringing on players, forcing it back into that. We parked the bus. We parked the bus hard. Like we cut the tires, threw some cement in there. Like nothing was going through. And I hate to say it, I like JP there. Like
for that type of game management situation, absolutely. Like that's the beauty of a guy like JP or even Connor is we can move them back and they know that role and they can play that role, but we don't have to have them play that role all the time. And when you're in that situation where you're down a man and you got that goal, why not just hold on for that? Especially against a team like Madison that you don't beat often. Yes, we've lost to them, but most of the time those games end in draws. So why not hold on for that win at home? You need those 3 points. Clearly, it helped us with this week. We started this by talking about being on top of the table. These 3 points were 3 of those 6 points that helped us get to that spot to end the week.
Just going into the week.
What's that?
I think we still might have been third.
Third. We were third going into Madison, yeah.
But that game, if Madison beat us, they would have tied us on points. So that, it was that narrow of a margin.
Yeah.
As they often call it, is a 6-pointer, right? Like it really was.
Yeah. This is game 2 where there has been a major change in the midst of the game that affects the outcome. So it's Saturday at Richmond. Touche obviously had his injury. G comes on, and everybody's trying to struggle because you don't know if this player is going to be coming back. Everybody's in shock, more or less. There, Wednesday, they know he's not as serious. He's out on his own power, and everybody's a little bit back. Amir gets the red card, and it's just a fight. Like it's the right kind of fight, but it's they're fighting for what's at home. I'd get it. Very impressed with the boys after Wednesday. I think we saw everything we needed to see to show that we deserve that from the guys. Now let's talk about the pitch. The pitch was horseshit.
That's the nicest thing you could have said.
Not only were players slipping all over on it, it was not level. Apparently, they had a roller and a team of 7 out an hour before players started training to try and flatten this, and it still just looked atrocious. It's something we've been calling out a lot this year. The pitch at home doesn't look great. This was I was talking with JR, and I believe this was our quickest turnaround or turnover from a baseball, because baseball had played Sunday there.
Wednesday.
Yeah. But we've done that in previous years. It should not have been an issue like it was. It should never be accepted by the team to play on a surface that looks like that plays like that. Because as we've said, guys are going to get hurt, and you don't make enough money in this league to get hurt.
Well, and it's also gotten to the point. Sorry, just real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Ebony commented after Dion's goal on Twitter, I've seen the ball bounce on that end of the field weird before. And it's getting to the point where other fans are now seeing how atrocious that pitch is and how it can actually maybe even impact the way that ball is bouncing around against a defense or even for an offense that's attacking that way, when they're not used to it. The only advantage we may have now, this point of the season, is we've been able to actually practice there with a little bit more than we had in the beginning of the season. But it's getting to the point where other teams fans are calling it out of how bad it is, and maybe even indicating, I don't know if this was actually her reasoning, but maybe even implying that that was the reason why that goal went in, was because of how bad the pitch was.
I think we're not seeing that be like, yes, it's bad. Yes, we know it's bad. The Omaha fans are some of the biggest supporters of not playing at Werner Park because of the pitch. But it's of no benefit to us.
Mm-hmm.
We're hurting more there. Like Ryan got burned a number of times because his feet just went right out from under him.
Well, yeah, I was going to mention, like, Gabe had a couple of times where he lost his footing a bit or slightly missed a pass because of it. And then we were immediately on the defensive. And, like, that's not good for us either.
I think more goals have been scored at that end this season than last season. And I don't know if that's because of defending. And I believe both sides, because honestly, it may have something to do with the sun advantage is definitely not for that, but just you can get the run of play up on the outfield to about midfield, and where your defense and your counter, you're not having to worry about a weird bounce or guy walking and then falls over with no one around because he trips on the seam. Like there are some things that need to be figured out there if it's going to stay for another year or 2 years, or if they plan to stay there indefinitely, which we've been told there's a stadium somewhere in the works, but until that's announced and until there's a date, this is our home. It needs to be safe. It needs to be quality, and it was neither on Wednesday.
I mean, even as we've seen with Tormenta, even when it is announced and there's a date, sometimes it takes a bit longer than planned. So, like, we need to be sure that we can be able to play on it. And, like, most of it's fine, right? Like, 3/4 of it is a good field. It's just the infield part that's awful.
Yeah.
Well, and what's interesting is I take 2020 out of the equation because baseball didn't play at all. So they could leave that grass down the entire season. But last year, I don't remember. I mean, I know there was a couple times where we were like, "Ooh, that looks kind of bad," but it was not like this is almost like what Lansing went through in 2019. How poor those conditions are, to the point that people started commenting about how horrible that pitch was and how horrible it was to try and play there.
With Lansing, at least, the run of play was in the outfield. It was so little had to do because they didn't have their retractable mound. So little was done where there was turf, but there were spots that players avoided because the pitch was so bad. With us committing to that retractable mound, playing the way we do on that, it needs to be better. 2020, grass was able to get roots because baseball wasn't there. Looked good, played well. That was a quality pitch by the end of the season. 2021, baseball was back, but the transitions, everything seemed to be smoother. There weren't problems where you'd see a ball just going, down. Like you didn't see guys running and just tripping with nobody around at the scene.
Yeah.
Like, that I don't know what's going on with the grounds crew, but you can't do that. You just can't do that. And
that was literally the first thing I texted you about from home, Luke. Was how awful is this pitch right now? Like, and on TV it's one thing, but knowing that you guys are there and you can see it with your own eyes, it's for you guys to confirm. Camille was on that text too, and for you to confirm, like, no, this is a horrible pitch right now. Like, that's just how bad it came across even on TV. Like, there was no even hiding it with cameras at that point.
Yeah. Let's jump to Saturday. So much better. That is ripped up, flattened. You could see where there had been turf laid, but there was no raise on the edge. Like that was smooth, had been mowed over, had been rolled over. That was flat. That looked good. That played so much better. You didn't see guys losing their footing on turf that hadn't been secured properly. Like it looked solid, which I think set us up for some solid success. Saturday, no Amir.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, why?
Defense was
so our third new right back in a row, as we played Eddie, I believe, against Richmond, and then Amir in midweek, and then Dion against Chat. So
Dion, and then you had Shaft.
You had Shaft start too,
Shaft and Dion on the same side. Dion's already one of our faster players. He's got the pace. He's got the ball control. He looked good. Shaft, holy shit, is he fast?
Everything, it was just like the cross was either just a little bit off or the player was just not to it. But otherwise, that whole left side, that first half, he was just dominating.
The pace of just the way the other guys played even looked faster because of him being able to keep the pace. And because he's so fast, our press looked so much better because his ability to recover, his ability to press really fast was there because of the speed. I don't know what they need to do to keep that guy a little bit longer. I don't know how long of a contract they signed him to, if it's only to the end of this season. But give him a full season with some of these guys coming back, because I think that we have enough young guys that have been showing themselves that need another season with us. We could be scary next year. I know we're not through this season, but you can be even scarier when you have guys like that to get a full season together. I mean, Kyle, I think a lot of what you're talking about has to do with the fact that he was signed and has had some practice, but not enough time to get some of that timing down. You start getting those guys used to his speed and needing to be further up the pitch to receive those crosses. That's just going to come with more time together.
Well, this is in the course of a week. His second appearance, he came on for 5-10 minutes against Richmond. That game was already in shambles. There wasn't much he could do to impress, but it got him out there, got him to run.
Yep.
Starting on Saturday, we know how Jay is. Jay is not going to give time to guys who haven't earned it.
Right.
Even if it means we're hurting because we should have rotated, Jay's not going to do that. Shaft must be really showing why he was signed in training, and he definitely showed that on the pitch. He was everywhere. The chemistry, I think, guys knowing where he's going to be putting the ball, because he was crossing into the box so much, but just Hugo wasn't quite there. No, he wasn't quite there. It could have been so much more in getting there, but the right thoughts were there, the right movements were there, and it just about paid off so many times. So,
well, yeah, I just want to give you a quick stat here. the difference between our XG, so our offensive versus our total XG versus their total XG, this game was our highest game this season. That is with a red card. We had a higher XG to an opponent's, the highest this season to any other game.
That's insane. Especially considering how late both those goals came.
Yeah.
Well, also considering third game in 7 days, third game in 8 days.
True.
Like, this was a very, very rotated lineup. Hugo's first start in probably 4 or 5 games. You have Noe up there, Shivani playing defensive mid. I think JP is still working back from some injury. Connor, our defense with G as center back, Dalton, Ryan, Dion, Shaft out there. And Joe.
Yeah.
So, this was a very good lineup, but one obviously hasn't played a whole lot together. Well, at least
parts of it.
In a game time setting. It was really unproven. I liked when I was going through the lineup, liked what I saw, but didn't know how it was going to go. And especially against a team like Chattanooga, who is tough. It's a very physical match. It's a very fast match. With the way their former coach, hiatus coach, whatever he is, Obleda set up and recruited players, a very South American style play, which it is tough for a lot of the teams in USL 1 to adapt to. We had our issues, and Jay made a substitution at half. Jay doesn't do that.
Yeah.
Kind of had to.
Yeah. Because we went down to, honestly, a really good goal.
That
was a beautiful goal.
That's just how Chat's been scoring this year too, though. I mean, they say, like, I think even the League One Twitter was like, he does it again, right? Like, I think that that's just how a lot of their opening goals have been this season. It seems like is they've just been hitting bangers, and they've been going in. And as we've said many times in the past, sometimes that's the best way to beat Shido.
Yeah,
I mean, is those well placed bangers? That's sometimes that's all you can do.
Well, Rashid just never had a chance on that one.
Oh.
He couldn't have been in a better position. He's tall enough. He's got enough reach that that's not what hurt him there. That was just unless you're I'm honestly with that goal, I don't think you're seeing a keeper stop it.
No. Some of the best keepers in the world get beat by shots like that all the time. There are just certain places you put a ball on a goal that it doesn't matter how good your keeper is, how many Champions Leagues, whatever they've won, how many honors they've won. Sometimes you just beat a keeper with a really well placed shot, and you just give it up to a guy that shoots like. I mean, I was in Sioux City for this game, so I was watching it, and I text Luke, and I was like, "Damn, that was a good shot." Like, that's all. It's like, what do you say? It's like,
It's like, well, and honestly, it was we let him get into that position. Our defense had a bit of a lapse. I think it was a bad pass by Dion.
Yeah, it was a bad pass, and that was just after like a series where we've had a few bad passes in a row. Again, maybe that chemistry not being fully together, but yeah, we just had a few bad passes, and then where it kind of breaks.
But it really went against the run of play because I felt we were on the front foot all the way up to there, and beautiful goal. We're down, but not out. We go into the half down one. Jay only made one substitution at half, which was Hugo for Corey. I don't know if that was a Corey needed to rest his legs, or just we needed something more than what Hugo was putting out there.
I think Corey coming in at that point was what we were just talking about earlier with Shaft, of having a player that has played a lot of soccer, that understands offensive positioning, and we know that Corey will push up a little further. He's not always running his ass off, but he knows where to keep himself. So that a guy like Shaft, who's faster, Corey knows I need to play up a little bit further, so I don't have to go as far or run as fast as Shaft, because he's never going to be as fast as Shaft, to put himself in that position. I think Jay looked at it of, let's get my experienced striker up top. This is a guy that can score goals for me.
Well, that was interesting too, in that I felt, at least in the first half, we didn't press nearly as high as we were against Madison. We weren't like right on top of them. We were a little bit back. But I do think we started to press higher, of course, after we had let in the goal into that second half.
Yeah.
So Corey comes on, changes the game.
In more ways than one.
And so many. The more I'm seeing him play for us, and talking to Chris, who came in from Des Moines, what her description of him was very much like, he's gonna fight. He's got that attitude, and he was up there. He was getting in the rest face. He was really pushing the boundaries of what was possible, and putting everything into it to get our team behind the moves that we needed to get a goal. Up until the point where a Chattanooga player falls over, the whistle is not blown, and Corey continues to play the ball, and receives a straight red.
Okay. This is why we all have to be Corey Herzog fans. I'm going to read some of his responses to a tweet. So, STL Soccer Tracker quote tweets Omaha, our team's red card tweet about him getting his red card, and says he signed off for violent misconduct. Unless the red is rescinded, he'll miss at least the next match. One of his responses was, "My daughter kicks me harder than that."
His daughter's maybe 3.
Yeah. Morgan, who has been helping us a little bit with the site and stuff, said didn't even look like you really made contact and held up the kick once you saw the player holding the ball on the ground. So not sure how it was a red on you and not a handball on them. Corey said, agree. To which Zach said, basically, I'll buy you a nice red steak. And Corey said, medium rare, but if my red isn't overturned, I'll cook. And then his other response to this quote was, did you see the red? Haha. So I think Corey, the personality part of it is just, it reminds me not a lot. I mean, him and Greg have very different personalities, but it reminds me of a lot of like what Greg did last year on Twitter when, Madison fans were calling him a goon objectively, and like going after him. And Greg would just like push back just a little bit, just enough to get us all like fired up about it. But the one thing that I think was interesting about the 2 reds this week were when Amir got his, he just walked off. Like Amir knew as soon as he touched the guy's face and he went down, Amir just started walking off the pitch like, yeah, okay, that's not going to be good for me. Corey, they almost had to escort Corey off the sidelines because he was still arguing that it shouldn't have been a red, up until the point that one of the chaser security guards was like basically links arms with him and is like, all right, buddy, we got to go before this gets worse for you. So it was just interesting because I think that just shows, like, I think if Corey would have gotten a legitimate red, like knew that he lashed out, knew that he stomped, whatever, I don't think he would have put up as much of a fight about the red card as he did. Where Amir knew, okay, I hit a guy in the face, regardless of whether I was my intent or not. I did that. The guy went down. I'm probably not seeing the rest of this game. So it was interesting. But good for Corey for a guy that doesn't use Twitter a whole lot to just send random things out. he definitely responds to a lot of things, which is great.
So this is where I lost my voice.
Fair.
Even
So
more.
I saw you run up there. Yeah.
Yeah. I said many unkind things towards the Christmas team, as it was called. Yeah.
Yeah, the hardest thing is the ref. I mean, the ref's behind it, so they see like a kick coming in, and I think he just assumes it made contact,
Well,
and hard.
the
He
Chattanooga
can't see
player
that.
sold it more so.
Yeah,
Like the Chattanooga player went down and immediately grabbed the ball, which, like, yeah, if you're tripped, but that was not a trip. It looked like he fell on his own.
yeah. Like I can maybe see a foul get called. Sometimes you'll see that happen, but like it wasn't anything overt. And
Well,
then the whistle was so late,
yeah.
which is why Corey kept playing on. Like you can hear it on the broadcast, like because I went back and watched it, and it was like fell. Corey had the whole thing, and then the whistle blew. It was like,
Yeah.
And Corey stopped as soon as the whistle blew. But until the whistle blows, and this is regardless of the level you're at, you continue playing. Like the worst thing that could have happened there is Corey backs off, and they get up, get that in, and put it in the back of the net.
Mhm.
Like you keep playing until the whistle, and
Dude, we're all taught that from a young age, right? Doesn't matter the
Yeah.
sport. You play through the whistle. You play till you hear a whistle.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is because if you think a whistle is going to occur in any sport and it doesn't, then you just are caught with your pants down and the other team can take the ball and go do what they need to with it. Every sport I ever played that involved whistles, I should say, it was always what was preached to us. Don't stop till you hear a whistle. That's why refs are taught to use their whistle at a loud pitch and not just like blow on it a little bit and just a little tweet. So I don't know. I mean, I can't fault a guy for this. Goes back to what you were just saying, Luke, about the people from Des Moines saying, he's going to fight for you. He's going to work hard. I'm never going to fault a guy for playing it through until he hears a whistle. Because he wouldn't have kicked at it and gone on if he thought that there was going to be a stoppage in play or there was a stoppage in play.
From what I've heard, this has already been appealed. They have to be appealed within 24 hours. I'm hoping there's a good camera angle. If not, the sound quality is up to the standards needed, but I don't see this sticking. I see Corey making the trip next Sunday.
yeah, it's hard. I would hope, but yeah, sometimes if you don't have the angle, it's hard.
Yeah.
Who's Sunday?
Oh, I mean, we can.
Sunday?
Tucson. I mean, if we want, I can go off about the schedule already, but I was going to wait till a bit later.
Well, the travel part, yes.
Now.
Hmm?
Let's talk about the happy things now.
Okay.
Well, the only thing I'll say is if Corey has to miss Tucson, of all of the matches for him to have to miss, a trip to Tucson against a bottom of the table team that we know we can beat, I'd rather have him miss that match than Richmond midweek or the Greenville game the following. Yeah. So of all the games, if it doesn't get rescinded, okay, stay back in Omaha. Don't worry about the travel, Corey. I think Noe and those guys, Ricky, those guys can handle running the line against Tucson. Personally.
Yeah. Speaking of that, Ricky comes in this game, first time in a little while with Luis, another one of those knowledgeable players who kind of knows how to play, and then good things happen.
Can we, before we talk about his goal, can we please figure out how to say his last name, because they kept saying heel, and I swear to God it's Gilles, but if I'm wrong, I'll be wrong. But
I thought it was an H for the G, so Well, that's because he was pointed out that by someone on Twitter, so that's why I think he was saying heel.
Okay.
I don't know if it's right or not, but
I
It made his
believe
joke good.
I believe his announcement by the team, which had the pronunciation guide, was Gilles.
The guide only does the pronunciation for his first name. I have it up on their website right now. It is Luis, and then it just says Gil. It does not put a pronunciation for his last name.
All right, Gil. It's Gil.
Here's the thing.
I'll say it wrong.
It worked for Donnie because he got to use a pro wrestling line in there where he said, Luis Heel is a face for his team right now. And I was like, yes, Donnie, way to use pro wrestling terms. In other pro wrestling terms, I marked out.
But yeah,
anyway,
first goal for the team. First goal for the team.
Yeah, it was a beauty too.
It came right time, enough time to be able to get it. I mean, first goal for the team and almost no celebration except grab that ball.
Let's get going.
Grab the ball, run back, like a little bit towards the corner flag, but that ball was grabbed before anybody anybody from Chattanooga has a chance, and we're back going. And at that point, you can see the guys just they know they can do it. Jay's player management for this was excellent. And then we see Dion actually switch a little bit more up.
Yeah, he pushes farther up because
Shaft came off for Eddie.
Yeah,
Gordon came in. Yep, Eddie. Oh yeah, and JP.
Eddie came on for Joe. JP came on for Shaft.
Okay. And
so again, JP can play. I mean, Shaft looked great. A lot of Shaft's defensive ability is his speed, so he can recover fast. But JP is a more defensive-minded player, so I think it was a good switch there to put a guy like JP in that's a little bit more defensively sound, but can push up if we need him to. So great switch on that one.
I saw Jay after the game and just gave him your game management has just told him his game management the past two games has been phenomenal because this is especially going into this season where Jay's gonna make a sub at the 63rd minute to a fault. He's definitely been making the right moves and that have really helped us nail it home to the point Dion gets his.
With an assist from Ricky.
Well, and a hockey assist from Cheeto. It was a goal kick. Very similar to the goal we scored against Minnesota in the Cup game.
Yes.
Moving forward, headed on. Striker gets up and scores it.
Dion would never say this, but it was definitely one of those, I'm just taking the shot. If it gets saved, it gets saved. And because even his celebration when he ran down the pitch, he kind of did the let's slow down here because I think he 100% did not mean to do with that. I think he figured it was going to go wide, but he was at least making the keeper work a little bit. Same side of the goal as Luis's goal too, which was interesting.
Well, that's definitely something going into the rest of the season since Chattanooga is likely to make the playoffs to be mindful of. I know our guys have been watching a lot more tape to take advantage. We've had luck there with PK against Central Valley, and I think the more we watch, the more we're going to see us take where goalkeepers have been having faults or where defenders have had faults, and us fully exploiting it.
And I just wanted to also shout out that was both the first league assists for both Joe and for Ricky for us.
Nice.
Joe had a goal in the Cup, but that was his first league assist.
Nice.
Well, and then first goals for both of those players for us too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I mean that's the cool part. You're down a man. You score 2 goals past the 88th minute and later, and not only that, but all four of the guys involved in those, it's the first time they've had some kind of a stat for the team too. Like that every time I talk about this team being like 2020, that's why it reminds me of that. Is that it's a group effort. Somebody's going to do something. They're all working together, and they're gelling so much more right now.
Well, one of my favorite things about this game against Chattanooga is we Chattanooga.
They've been Chattanooga 5 times this year.
Yeah, like last year they almost all of their wins came at the death, and this year being able to do that because just felt right. It just felt real right.
Yeah, twice to them.
Yeah,
Chivani's banger was against them as well.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's the nice part against a team like Chattanooga. This is the first season they felt like a legitimate threat to maybe be a team that can make a push in the playoffs, maybe be a team to worry about. But they've always kind of been one of those teams that is there, and they've always been kind of a team that's been a pain in our ass. So to be able to be this resilient against that team and Madison, I think that's the crazy part. I tweeted out after this game, like, there's no quit in this team. And I was talking more about going down a man and doing that. But for those two teams in particular, for us to go down a man against both of them and find ways to score multiple goals after going down a man to beat teams we normally can't beat, that just shows the tenacity and the fight this team has. And it's going to do nothing but bode well as we push on towards the end of the season. We're not that far from getting through the regular season and the playoffs starting, and this is the right time to be clicking like this, which is something I love about this team so far.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't want to do the whole digging for this stat, so I'm just going to say I'm assuming it's rare that a team 2 games in a row goes down a man and then puts itself into a winning position when it wasn't before.
Yeah.
Well, you now officially have to answer that on day to day.
We'll see. That's probably a lot to go down.
Well, that win with Greenville and Madison's draw 2-2 at Greenville moved us top table pending Richmond's results this coming Wednesday, where Richmond is away at
Tormenta, I want to say.
Yeah, I think
no, it's home against Tormenta.
Either way, like, Tormenta's been solid enough this year and haven't they already beaten Richmond once?
That I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head either. But I think the thing is, like, right now we're top of the table. We're 2 points ahead of Richmond. We're both on the same amount of games played, which also both teams have a game in hand on Greenville. But this is exactly what Omaha needed to do with those games in hand, and this is what we've been talking about: is you got to take advantage of the fact that Open Cup run gave us so many games in hand, and getting 6 points out of these 3 matches this past week. While I would have liked a draw out of Richmond and being on the road, getting 6 out of 9 points coming out of that when you had a couple of games in hand is exactly what you need. And look what it did. It shoots you from 3rd place to 1st place with a game still in hand. Regardless of what happens with Richmond, we still have that game in hand on them after Wednesday. So we have that ability to continue to gain those points if we keep playing like we are. And we have an opportunity to gain even more space on them if we win on Sunday and then beat them on that following Wednesday. We have a really good chance of pushing that 1st place up even further.
I think the guys are hungry enough at this point that our next run of 3 games.
4.
Okay.
And here is where I can talk some crap about the schedule, I guess. We're playing Sunday night in Richmond, so that's a 9:00 game here. So they're not coming back that night. Tucson, sorry, yes, yeah. Tucson. So 9:00 in Tucson. They're not going to be back until Monday at the earliest.
Yeah.
And then they play on Wednesday against a top of the table team, or near the top of the table team. And then on Saturday against another one, and then we go to NoCo on with that next Wednesday, which is just ridiculous. We should not be playing NoCo on that Wednesday. Greenville plays in NoCo that Saturday after we play them Wednesday. They're already going to be here. Just have them go play NoCo after they play us.
Yeah,
it's just stupid.
I think this was a 4-game stretch that we all saw initially anyway, and we're like, "Whew, that's going to be brutal." Without knowing anything about what this season was going to look like, what our team was going to look like, you look at that stretch and you're like, "It's the travel to Tucson. It's coming back home. You're probably going to get a light practice in on Monday and Tuesday. You got the third place team coming in to play you on Wednesday, who just beat you 3-0. So there's a lot going into that. And then you have Greenville coming in, who, conceivably could be in first place. And, it's all that stuff of these are the top 3 teams, and we have to play 2 of the top 3 teams within 4 days of each other after having traveled to Richmond. And NoCo's been on a bit of a run lately, too. They haven't been looking bad.
Yeah, they had a hat trick
team
recently.
full of trash.
What's that?
They're a trash team full of trash. They're all sweaters.
But yeah, I mean, when coming into the season, I'm sure none of us thought that Tucson were going to be bottom of the table, absolutely terrible, like they have been. So that it was conceivably like a maybe playoff team, 3 in a row, and then NoCo, who was a big question mark. That was like looking at it coming into it, and it's like, why would you do that? Why would you schedule
and
that?
In a sense, NoCo took Tucson's space in a way of potential playoff teams. So you still have 3 potential playoff teams in a row, 2 of which are pretty much guaranteed playoff teams.
Yeah,
I think Tucson was my dark horse this year.
I think a lot of us were a little high on them. I will say for the Greenville match, they have the Oktoberfest thing going on. And if you already have a season ticket, you can do an add-on to that and get a beer stein and stuff. So that's, at least some added incentive to come get drunk and then yell at Greenville more.
A filled beer stein.
Yes, 1 pour.
Hey, that's better than usual.
Yeah. Well, although I will say, this is my pettiness coming out. The add-on was $15, but to buy the ticket with the beer stein, if you didn't have a season ticket, was $25. Make it make sense.
You've already sunk your money in, and they
know
more.
But if I broke down my season tickets per match of what it costs, I'm still probably paying more to do the add-on than I would if I would have just bought the ticket. So I'm just saying, make it make sense.
You are supporting professional soccer in Nebraska.
I'm supporting my alcoholism. That's what I'm supporting.
All right.
I might need it after these 2 weeks of grad school, Kyle. So.
Yeah, so, hey, Labor Day's nice. I don't have to teach, so we're all good.
It's fair. Yeah, I didn't have class. It worked out.
Let's get some score predictions out for Tucson. Figuring we're going to have to be looking at a lot of player management going into, as Kyle said, 4-game stretch against the teams that we've discussed. Like, we can't afford draws this late in the season.
No.
Well, funny thing against Tucson, just to throw this out, we have never drawn Tucson. We've played them the most amount of games that we've played anyone else, as well as Madison. We've won 8 times. We've lost once.
Yes, we lost due to a offside call that was clearly onside. Yeah. And a missed penalty, which Dami sure as hell made up for against SKC.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to say 2-0.
I was going to go 2-1. I think that maybe they get a goal in somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2-0 is where my mind went to. They haven't given up the most goals this season. They've actually Charlotte and North Carolina have both given up 41. Tucson's given up 35, but they're still giving up a lot of goals. So there's goals to be had. And they haven't been scoring a whole bunch either. They've only scored 23. Now we've only scored 28, so it's not like we're like outscoring them by a crazy amount. But I still feel like their inability to score and their ability to give up goals lends more to a 2-0 victory for Omaha.
I will say this: 2 previous times we played them, it was 2-1.
Oh, I like that.
Look at him pulling the data out.
Unless you're talking about a semifinal, and then we can talk about a different.
Oh yeah, no, I was talking about this year.
But to be fair,
say,
they did score against us in the semifinal. Nobody noticed it, but he did do it.
And it was against Jake, who's now on their team.
Yep.
While they are not giving up the most goals, they do have the second highest goal difference at -12. So that's what's hurting them, honestly, more than anything.
They've now got games in hand too. So
yeah.
if you look at it, they actually have played fewer games than us, and they won't make that up until like the last week or so of the season.
Yeah.
Which is why they keep the league keeps saying like they could make a run for the playoffs, because technically they have those games in hand. The way that team's playing, they're not making the playoffs. But I still feel comfortable saying 2-0. Honestly, if we come out of Tucson with a 2-1, I'm happy.
Yeah. All right. I don't think we have a whole lot more to talk about. College soccer's in full swing. Make sure you get out, check out a game. Some of them are free, some of them are not, but lots of games to go about.
UNO winning on Friday against San Diego State, who Creighton plays tonight.
Yep. I will be at that Creighton game, see how they fare against them. But there's some really great games going on out there. Some great sides, both UNO, Creighton, Midland, probably even Bellevue. I haven't checked Bellevue's roster. Iowa Western's running away with it again. Men's, women's side, like you're not going to find women's professional or semi-professional in Omaha, but the women's collegiate is yet. Women's collegiate teams are fantastic. Definitely going out and checking.
Also, Iowa Western, shout out for some friends of ours, Football for the World. Iowa Western has a partnership with them this year. For every goal scored, they're donating a soccer ball.
Currently at 20?
20. They're at 20 goals. So
I mean, Iowa Western's crazy good. So
yeah.
It's going to be a lot.
It's a cool partnership. So that's another reason to go cheer on Iowa Western if you want to go watch some fun soccer.
Hey, and those games are always free when played in Iowa. So,
yep.
All right. One last question for everybody. Who gives a hoot? We do.